and it's the Tuesday after the Saturday night. Yes, I know I'm usually doing my lives and stuff. If you've just joined us, if you've never been here before, I'm Abs of October Red. I've had like a little bit of a revamp of my YouTube layout and stuff like that. I thought I'd try something different. It looks like this camera might be a little bit dirty, but if you know me, I do things kind of raw and unfiltered. I don't know if that's made it worse. I don't necessarily have like a strategy, like a plan. I kind of like just go in and hope for the best, try and keep it as natural as possible. So hopefully the sound's all right, etc. But we're here to talk about the aftermath, really, because I went live with the crew on Sunday, but there's been a lot of fallout, obviously, regarding Daniel Dubois and him losing. And once again, the fighter's under the microscope because he loses, because he's lost. First of all, I want to take this time to say congratulations to Alexander Usyk, who I have described as a phenom for everything that he's, done in boxing. I've watched him from cruiserweight. No, I didn't watch him as an amateur, but I watched him from cruiserweight come up to the heavyweight. And I've seen him conquer every task that's been put in front of him. I've seen him hurt. I've seen him carry on, and on Saturday, that reign continued, fighting 3 people twice and beating them twice, let alone becoming undisputed yet again. Alexander Usyk is probably someone that we don't necessarily give the flowers to that we should do at the moment, because we're consumed with all of the controversy around the fights, and nothing to do with him, I may add. He's a consummate professional, and nothing leaks out of his camps or what he's doing, which is a credit to him and his team and how they operate. You don't even see sparring for music, really. I think you might have seen 1 or 2 clips from years ago. I heard that he has a strict regime, that there's sort of like an invite only to his sparring, where you have to audition. I'm not saying anyone can just turn up and spar anyway with any fighter, but he's got like this criteria that he has to be able to spar him. Everything he does is in a professional manner. He's written down that he has 15 round spars, and he spars for 5 minutes at a time. Don't quote me on that, because I'm not sure if his actual source, but I have seen that written about him. People that go to spar him don't necessarily leak out stories, so we don't really hear much about that. And like I said, that's a credit to his professionalism. I don't know if he gets the fighters to sign a NDA, so you never hear anything bad come out about the sparring. So yeah, he did what he needed to do. From the press conference where, he was saying that he was going to knock him out, he was going to stop him. I'll put that down to him probably being slightly annoyed at the jeering and that was going at him from, obviously, Dubois and his team. So I thought, oh, it's a different edge from him, but let's see how it goes. And it did go. And he got that stoppage in round number 5. So we watched the fight back, and shout out to Base the Kid, who kind of said, listen, he had it in the bag from the beginning. I think Dave Allen's come out and said the same thing. I believe that Daniel was in the fight, and I was, listening to comms and then watching the fight. And you like to be able to think, if your eyes are closed or you can't see the fight, the commentary is going to have an accurate reflection and not concentrating on one fighter. So you can get that accurate picture. You can see who's throwing what and who's doing what. That's what we like to see. That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to listen out for. So I thought he was in the fight more than the comms were saying. But they're ringside, they've got a different opinion to me. I'm there guided by the cameras and not necessarily sat there watching it from one particular angle. The beauty of having the cameras is that you go all the way around the ring. You get to see every perspective. We saw the fight come to an end when obviously Daniel got knocked down. When I saw Daniel on the floor, he was sort of hyperventilating. You know, when you've overexerted yourself in a session, really breathing deeply, but it looked almost like hyperventilation. Like he was on the floor, like really breathing quite rapidly, you know, pouring with sweat as you do. It's been a hard slog. And if you go back to Tony Bellew, when Tony Bellew fought him, he said, and you can go back and listen to it, Alexander will basically wear your mind out. He will make you feel exhausted through your mind because of how he is, because he makes you try and think, because he's constantly got you moving because he's moving. So you can understand a bit why Daniel was knackered, one for a better word. An excellent performance. We saw the referee give the count. I think it got to 9 when he got back up on his feet and he walked, and which is what it is, quite calmly back to his corner. Had he seen that the towel was thrown in, so he knew it was over, he was looking at his corner. There's all kinds of ifs, buts and maybes about, you know, him giving up. I'll leave that to the professionals. I'm not a professional. I merely just watch the boxing. The towel went in. He looked like he'd had enough. And he didn't protest it, did he? When it got waved off. So, that's done and dusted. Daniel gave him his dues. There was no disrespect after the fight. He was very professional after the fight, which made me just think all the lead up was a bit of a bravado, playing some games, keeping it entertaining for us at home, giving us something to talk about, which it definitely did. Yeah, the fight ends. Then the questions start. Well, why did he lose? What was he doing before the fight? Who can we blame? A video's surfaced on social media. It got sent to me a few times actually. And then I started to see it surface. What somebody showed, like Daniel partying before he got to the arena, which it was said he got to the arena later than he should have. Fail to prepare, prepare to fail is one of the old sayings that I go by. And yeah, he was seen to be celebrating, almost like a ceremony, chanting, speaking it into existence, whatever you want to call it, that he's going to win. With that, and whatever the reason was, he didn't get to the ring on time. I don't know what time he was there when he fought Anthony Joshua. I haven't looked back into that. Obviously, same location. They'll understand the distance, the travel time, potential traffic, potential hazards, car crashes. So you got to make sure you're early to stop all of that nonsense happening, to stop you being late. So lateness is something that I definitely don't agree with. If he wants to have his ceremonial pre-party, that's down to him, as long as it doesn't interfere with the times that you're supposed to get to the arena, which it looks like it potentially did. I didn't look at the timestamps on the video. So social media's picked up on that. It reminded me, and this is my personal opinion, Anthony Joshua didn't do pre-parties, but Anthony Joshua had a lot of people around him, a hell of a lot of people around him. And it rung alarm bells, because you could see he had a team of coaches that were like trying to keep it rigid, trying to keep it professional, but he had a lot of people surrounding him. And I believe that a lot of these people were around him for the wrong reasons. You know, the fair weather friends. But in saying that, some people are quite tactical and they'll stay with you whatever the weather, because they know that there's a long-term benefit for them. But I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole different conversation that I could have, but I'm not going to do that today. But we saw Daniel start to walk with a larger entourage. There's some suggestion, and like I said, this is all rumour, it's all out on the internet. I don't know if it's true because I wasn't there when he walked in, that there was a potential of, if these guys aren't coming in, Daniel's not going to fight. It's sort of like a threatening, a bargaining tool. On the night of his fight, the night that Daniel Dubois is going up against a phenom to try and become undisputed. Now, those of you can argue all you like. He was, say he was never going to win anyway, and it doesn't really matter what happened, and etc., etc. However, there are aggravating circumstances around this that didn't help. Whether Usyk was going to dominate anyway, because Usyk seemed extremely focused, like tunnel vision, targeted on what he was going to do. So Daniel Dubois, pre-fight gathering, gets to the arena. Allegedly there's this bargaining going on. He's late already. Not late for the fight, but late in preparation. And that's what we're talking about, being prepared. And like I said, all of this is allegedly. I wasn't there. It's just what I'm picking up off the internet. I'm commenting on that. Psychologically, that is going to have some effect on you, because it's distracting you off what you're supposed to be doing. You need to remain focused, because you've got a serious task at hand and a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Real studious fighters such as Usyk, we take this thing really seriously, because we're aware of the consequences and we know what we want and we're driven. But we didn't see that. And we can say that there were signs in the lead up, like the dominance, the aggression that was coming from Dubois, and then it was being answered by Usyk, Team Dubois, Team Usyk as well on the outskirts, looking after their own. But professionalism, when it comes to the fight, is extremely important. Now, Frank Warren is his promoter. And if I was him, and like you said, the investment, the time, the money, the belief, Frank kept him when some people might have said no. There's a letdown there. Because all you ask your fighter to do is to remain focused, train, do the best you can, get in there and win. Of course, it's about winning. And we saw that it wasn't as smooth as that. It didn't necessarily go according to plan. There's a common theme, and I think Dave Allen touched on it, and I've touched on it when I spoke to Peter Fury about Tyson Fury when he boxed the said Usyk. And it's uncomfortable. I've seen Dillian White do it as well. And it's when you've got two coaches that have been main coaches, but in this case, Daniel Dubois' dad's not a coach, is he? He's, close to his son, all of that. We saw Dillian White look out the ring and listen to David Caldwell when he had his key coach standing in front of him, giving him instructions. Dillian White was looking out the ring. Didn't help. Because your focus is in there, not out there. Arguably, you could say whoever's the most dominant, you get in the ring, you talk to them and I'll shut up. or the person that's outside, shut up. You know, we saw the same thing with Tyson Fury. We saw the extra instructions coming in. It's too much. You're knee deep in a fight. You have to remain focused. You need that voice that's been talking to you all the way through camp. Whoever that voice is, that's the voice that you need to be channeling into, so you can take those instructions should you need to, or have that calm, because it's total war in there. You've got 60 seconds to recoup, gather your thoughts, think about what's just happened, and think about what's going to happen next. It's a short amount of time for a fighter to do all of that. So the last thing you need is that extra input. And that frustrated it as well. There's a lot of stuff that's going to obviously come out from it. I can bet your bottom dollar, or bet your bottom pound, as we're in the UK, bet your last 50 pence that potentially they're going to change the way that the team's set up. I've watched a conversation with Radio Raheem on Seconds Out with Don Charles, and Don Charles mentions the coaching team. We saw the same thing. Like I said, history has a way of repeating itself, and we can learn lessons from history, or we can think, oh, I'll do it better than that. I won't make the same mistakes. Anthony Joshua had Angel Fernandez, Rob McCracken, Joby Clayton in his corner. Now you could see that there was they were fractured. I wouldn't say that they gelled particularly well. So having all of that going on around doesn't help. Yes, I know it's down to the fighter. They're the one that's in the ring. They're the one that have got to make the decision. However, you can't make dynamic decisions with that chaos surrounding you. It doesn't help. You know? So I believe that there's going to be some changes in the corner of Daniel Dubois. I believe that there's going to be some serious conversations held with the team, the management, on what needs to change. I like Don Charles, but did he have enough dominance as a head coach in the corner? Were his instructions the loudest being heard and respected? Not from what I've seen. But Don has managed to create this. He's sort of ring-fenced it, and he's taking all the criticism, like bullets coming towards him, and trying to say, no, look, he's the one that's taking responsibility. He's the one that's taking ownership. He's the lead coach. But did he have that control as a lead coach? And I'd say no. Do I think he's a good coach? Yeah. Because we saw him build up Daniel's confidence from when he had him, you know, from when he had the first fight. And I get it, you know, he lost in Poland, but we saw a change in him after that, as him, both Don and Daniel, started to gel. But then they had additions to the team, and I don't know how many different coaches they've got in the team. But yeah, I just don't think that worked. You guys in the comments put what you think Daniel should do next, etc. I'll leave all of that to you. I've always been one of these people that's not a fan of large groups of, you know, people following you around. You know, these visual supporters. I always think that you should keep your team to almost a skeleton. You can see what's coming. You can see what's in front of you, beside you, behind you. You've got that peripheral, almost that 360 view, because there's only a certain amount of people around you. So say, for example, things get leaked out, you know where it's come from. And you've got those key people that you have to be able to trust that are there. boxing is an extremely small community, and I have heard lots and lots of things that I should know nothing about. And I guarantee you it's because they've got people in the camps that are going around and saying things, and then they're getting shared and forwarded voice notes into WhatsApp, and before you look at it, you're getting a message that's been forwarded several times, and you're like, wow, I shouldn't even know this. Trust is a massive issue, and that's why I think the camps should be kept the team should be kept extremely small. There's a lot to learn from this. I did see it as, like I said, when, you know, Anthony Joshua had a lot of people around him, I saw it was like an Anthony Joshua 2.0, and there's like big pictures, there's like so many people in the changing room. The panoramic view of the camera isn't enough to capture everyone. And then when you lose and you're upset, everyone starts to disappear. You know? So yeah, a lot of lessons learned. I've sat back, I've looked at it, seen everything that's been going on the internet. The place is in uproar about having a pre-fight party. But I heard he did the same thing before he fought Anthony Joshua, and no one never said anything then. Bearing in mind he wasn't late to the arena for that one. However, this is sort of ceremonial. If it's true, allegedly, they did the same thing before the Anthony Joshua fight. However, when you lose, when you fall, everyone starts to scrape up everything and say, look at that. I told you that was going to happen. Oh, look at the critique is there. The critique is always louder than the support, in my opinion. You know? And it's got to the point where I think somebody that was there with Daniels took a picture, you know, saying, you'll come again. And then somebody said, oh, he's got a glass jaw and he'll always quit. And then the same person that posted, you'll come again, turned around and said, yeah, I don't really want to, but I'm inclined to agree with what you said. I think the lesson from this is to really be careful who you have around you, who you call friends. Just to any fighter, any person really, just really be careful on who you have around you. Because the truth definitely reared its head with that. What does Daniel do next? I don't know. What does Usyk do next? I think he's got every right to do whatever he wants. I didn't like the Jake Paul face-off, because I didn't. But I get it. Boxing's no longer really boxing anymore, is it? It's showbiz. It's the entertainment business. But if he wants to fight him, he can. It's entirely up to him. He can do whatever he likes. We've got the likes of Joseph Parker waiting so patiently for his spot. Of course he deserves it. But at the end of the day, the choice is Alexander Usyk's, because he is the undisputed champion. Anyway, that's just my 50 pence worth. I could have done a live, but I just didn't feel like it at the moment. I hope this turns out all right. I might do a live for the Bournemouth fight this weekend, the Queensbury one. I'm trying to get some people lined up for content this week. I'm going to go and see Ezra Taylor hopefully this week. I'm going to go and see Solomon Dakers hopefully the week after. Congratulations to him on his performance. Very good performance. I'd say that's the best performance he's had since Kamil Sokolowski. I have reached out to Frank Warren, Frank Smith, Ben Shalom, and we'll have to see what happens. I think August is going to be a little bit quieter, and I think things will start to pick back up in September, later on, towards the autumn. So yeah, guys, I'll catch up with you soon anyway. If I don't do a live for the fight, I'll probably do something, a little mini live on the weekend or something, just to catch up with the subscribers. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there. I can put my scarf back on my head now. I'm not editing this out, but thank you for listening. You know what to do. Oh yeah, gosh, how dare I want to say a massive thank you to all of the subscribers once again, the ones that have stayed, the ones that have come along and just joined, and the ones that have gone. All of you, I appreciate all of you. The comments, the helpful comments, some of the comments, I don't know what the comments mean. One of them, it took me, I nearly had to go into ChatGPT to get it deciphered, but whatever. A comment's a comment. So yeah, I just want to let you know I appreciate you guys a lot, and thank you for the encouraging words as well. Yes, we are trying to get up to 10,000. I'd love that. I've been doing this for 5 years. Some of you may laugh and say, oh, 5 years, you ain't got 10. Yeah, it's just the way it is. I'm not going to stop doing what I do. I love the sport. I love speaking to people within the sport. I might switch it up and start speaking to different people as well, but we'll see how that goes. So yeah. And on that note, au revoir. Stay ready. The usual stuff.
People say I'm toxic, and honestly, I don't care.